fishermen all over the world and of all ages. Every one of them dream of their favorite fishing hole. Maybe a small pond you fished as a child, or a fishing trip you may have taken with your father. You never forget the joy those moments brought by fishing. For me, there is one place very special, a place my father took me as a boy. A place that holds a magical feeling, that feeling that makes you say, this is the place. Once a year I make this pilgrimage, flying away into the wild blue yonder, with the anticipation and knowing the next stop is the ruggedly beautiful Baja, California. As we approach Los Cabos, looking out the window, I try to imagine what it might have been like in the romantic days of this old land, hearing of tales of monster fish that would play with your mind. Finally, on our way to our destination, we head northeast to Punta Colorada. This place is the best. If you like to catch fish, this is the spot for you. Located on the East Cape of the Baja Peninsula, you're smack dab in the middle of the best fishing around. And with fast boats and the fishing grounds being right outside your hotel door, you're fishing in no time. So kick back, relax, and let me show you some very special moments from fishing these waters. And I guarantee it, you'll be packing your bags and ready to go fishing no matter where your favorite fishing hole may be. The first type of fish to be featured on this video is the Dorado. This could quite possibly be one of the most beautiful game fish in the sea. With their brilliant greens, yellows, and blues, they seem to almost glow in the water. These fish are also known by different names around the world, such as mahi-mahi in the Hawaiian Islands and the dolphin fish here in the States. In Mexico, they're known as the Dorado. Sometimes when fishing for Dorado, they can be spotted in large schools, gathering under floating debris with small items such as a piece of plywood attracting hundreds of schooling fish. The method for catching these fish on this day was simple. We started by trolling small feathers just off the back of the stern about 30 yards. It didn't take long and we had our first fish, but here's the trick. By leaving the hooked fish swimming around the boat, our deckhand began chumming the water with small bait fish, causing a feeding frenzy of Dorado. Now you just hooked on a live bait and sent it down, and whammo, fish on. Soon we reached our limit and we started home. With smiles on our faces, it was bittersweet. But the first day of fishing with your father and good friend behind you, you never want a day like this to end.
Yo me llamo El Gallo.
I was first introduced to the roosterfish when my dad brought me as a boy to the East Cape. It was late afternoon, spring of 1978, when he hooked up with a trophy rooster, 50 pounds plus. It seemed to take forever till this fish was alongside the boat, but finally I saw it for the first time. I couldn't believe my eyes. What a strange looking fish. With a dorsal fin that resembled a rooster's comb, and with its black lateral stripes, I thought my dad had just caught a prehistoric fish of some sort. 20 years later, it was my turn. Fishing in the same area where the light blue water meets a dark blue drop-off on the south side of the lighthouse from Punta Colorada. We slowly trolled live bait, not knowing what might hit our line. Then it happened, fish on.
You ain't got it. You can lose it. Giving you a good fight.
At first we couldn't tell what I had. Our guide Ramon thought I might have an amberjack. 20 minutes later, we were pleasantly surprised. I had a 25-pound roosterfish on the end of my line. As one of the top game fish found in Baja, I finally knew why these fish were so highly respected by sportsmen. Man, this fish can fight.
Good job.
After about a half an hour with this fish, we had been dragged a good ways offshore, not where you'd find a roosterfish. Roosterfish are found onshore along sandy stretches of beach, where they feed on large schools of bait fish that gather alongside the shoreline. Roosterfish live in these waters year-round, but the best time to target these fish is May through November. It was August 1999 when this fish was landed, and I'll tell you, it made the whole trip. I felt like I had come full circle from the first time I watched my dad catch his first trophy roosterfish when I was a boy.
Yo vivo en los arrecifes.
It wasn't long after landing the roosterfish that my good friend Brian Parker had a fish on.
Do it, Bosky. Work him. Oh!
Using the same technique as before, we slowly trolled a live bait just along a deep drop-off. But this time he hadn't hooked a roosterfish, but an amberjack, a nice size one at that.
See ya.
Amberjacks are normally found in water ranging from 50 to 250 feet deep. Swimming close to reefs and amongst shipwrecks, these fish can grow large.
Oh, big amberjack.
Around 30 to 40 pounds being the average size, and even larger fish not being uncommon.
Woo-hoo! Yeah!
With the amberjack being the largest of the jack family, these fish make for great sport. Trying to keep them out of the rocks is all part of the game, and often you lose. The best time to catch these fish is from mid-June to mid-October. And if you happen to land one of these fish, have it prepared. It's worthy of the dinner table.
Got another one, but...
Yo puedo nadar más rápido que el relámpago.
Although I've seen these fish strike a lure, peel off 50 yards, and then cut the leader in a blink of an eye, I've never seen one of these fish landed until this day. The time was early October 2000. We were trolling offshore for billfish. As we trolled, time passed by slowly. It had been a while since we had any action, or even seen a dorsal fin cutting the water. But here in Baja, things were bound to change, and change fast. No sooner said, Randy was in the chair hooked up with a large wahoo. Now this was a treat. These fish are fast, known as the bullet train for its speed, and with its extremely sharp teeth, it was important Randy brought this fish in as fast as he could, because it wouldn't take long for it to bite through the monofilament leader, and that would be the end of that. The wahoo is a member of the mackerel family and lives mainly offshore. Here it feeds on small fish, such as young dorado and tuna. A wahoo becomes very aggressive towards trolling lures and will seem to come out of nowhere with lightning speed, and just when you least expect it, wahoo! Fish on! These fish can grow large, with the average size around 25 pounds. A wahoo can grow up to 100 pounds or more, with the world record being 183 pounds. Not quite a world record, but a great fish all the same. This wahoo weighed in at 48 pounds and made for a great story back at the bar.
Yo soy más bonito que el pavón.
After landing the wahoo, we continued on trolling. With my dad alongside and first-timer to Baja, Randy Simonson, we trolled into the day, being lulled into a trance by the hum of the boat's engine. As we moved along, keeping an ever-watchful eye for any signs of activity on the surface, I dreamt of what it might have been like to have explored this area like the legendary writer Ray Cannon, and to have gone on the expeditions he had taken, using a convoy of small boats to explore these magnificent coastlines. As I daydreamed, I was quickly snapped out of it by commotion on the deck. Our guides Carlos and Leo had spotted a sailfish toying with one of our lures, and quickly Leo had a live bait in the water to tempt the fish. It was Randy's turn in the chair, but being his first time, Leo would attempt to hook the fish and then hand the pole to Randy. Easier said than done. Strike one. Strike two. Strike three. Strike four. We just couldn't get this fish on the line, and the sailfish and we went our separate ways. Once again, we continued on trolling, but not a minute later we were hooked up. As the fish peeled off line, Randy struggled with the safety rope, but soon had it undone and the fight was on.
All right, Randy! Pump and reel, pump and reel.
Sí, no, sí, pero fue recio para atrás.
I was just about in the middle of my siesta. You guys know how to wake somebody up.
Randy had a nice sailfish on, a big one for these parts. Most sailfish caught in the Sea of Cortez range anywhere from 60 to 120 pounds, with 150 up being a trophy. Sailfish appear to look a lot larger than they are, and due to their snake-like bodies and large bladder, they are very light for their size compared to a marlin. The world record sailfish weighed in at 221 pounds, caught in Ecuador in 1947. This record is overdue to be broken, but may never happen due to commercial overfishing around the globe. The best time to target the sail is mid-May through October, and can be caught fishing in the same way as marlin, trolling lures or coaxing them with live bait or fly. Sailfish, for the most part, is not considered a fish worthy of the dinner table and should be caught and released to fight another day. Now check out some of the sailfish action put to music.
Un marlin ganchudo es un bailador.
A long time had passed between my childhood experiences of coming to Baja with my dad. It had almost been 20 years till I returned to the East Cape on my own. I started my annual returns May of 1998 with fishing buddy Scott Ungren. Armed with my sister's camcorder, we set out on a 3-day adventure out of Punta Colorada, determined to catch my first marlin upon my return to the Sea of Cortez. But no such luck for me. It was Scott's turn in the chair, and he was hooked up with a 189-pound striped marlin. He battled this fish for over an hour while I rolled tape. I'd have to wait for another day. Returning the next year, August 1999, this is going to be my first year to catch a marlin, right? Wrong. No more than an hour into the first day, my fishing compadre Brian Parker was hooked into a blue marlin. And like before, I rolled tape as he fought the fish, and also like before, I'd have to wait for another day. Well, finally that day came. It was August 6, 2000. I was fishing with a group of friends from Seattle. We were on our last day fishing, and the time was ticking down. Once again aboard my favorite boat, the Pargo, Carlos and Leo took us far south into very blue and warm water that was teeming with life. And that's when it happened. A large blue marlin slammed into the lure and raced ahead of the boat with lightning speed. Soon we had the fish off the starboard side of the boat, and I settled into the task at hand.
Oh, like $1 million. Stay calm. Okay, do that again. Give me a stay calm. Stay calm.
As I fought the fish, I was hearing everyone on board guess how big it was.
Yeah, it's 500 pounds.
It grew with every moment, from 350 to 500 pounds. I started wondering how big this fish really was, and if I could handle the stamina it would take to bring this fish in. I hoped I wouldn't tire and hand the pole off to someone else, but that wouldn't be the case. My adrenaline was pumping and I was in for the long haul.
That's right. It's well worth the trip.
A half an hour had passed and we finally got our first glimpse of the marlin. But not for long. The fish turned tail and took off on one last run, and I wasn't stopping it.
Every swipe of his tail, he takes out some line. He can take line whenever he wants. Yeah. I ain't stopping him.
I didn't stop.
Yeah. That's good. I don't want any more. Come on, buddy. Nothing I can do. The blue marlin is the second largest of the billfish family, with the black marlin being the largest. The largest blue marlin ever caught weighed in at 1,376 pounds, caught in Kona, Hawaii in 1982. The best time to target the blue marlin is May through November. Unfortunately, this fish died of exhaustion during the fight and was unable to be saved. This blue weighed 220 pounds and took an hour to land. It was easily the biggest fish I'd ever caught up to this point.
Dos están mejor que uno.
When I was a very young boy living in San Diego, I was still not old enough at the time to go on trips with my dad to Baja. So instead, I would sit at home wondering what it was like to fly down the Baja Peninsula in their twin beach bonanza, exploring the coastlines and dropping in on remote fishing villages to try their luck. I dreamt of the adventures they must be having, and what kind of fishing tales my dad would bring home to tell me. It wasn't until I was around 13 that I was finally allowed to come along with the men on their fishing adventures, where I got to go to many places such as Mulegé, Loreto, La Paz, and of course my favorite, Punta Colorada. There's a great aura about these places, an aura that instilled a bug in me, a Baja bug if you will. Now it was my turn to return the favor, and return my dad back to the old land to relive some old memories and make some new ones. And oh boy, did we make some new ones. As my dad would say, I've been to a World's Fair and 2 bullfights and never seen anything quite like what happened on this day. The time was October 14th, 2000. It was our last day fishing. The day was getting late and I was losing my patience and ready to call it a day. And that's when it happened. A big blue marlin knocked down one of the lures and was hooked up. In seconds, Randy had the pole and was hanging on as the marlin frantically greyhounded across the surface of the water. As I struggled to get the shot, Leo, our deckhand, was hooked up with a second big blue. He yelled to get my attention while the 2 monsters ripped off yards of line. Finally realizing Leo's yells, I handed the camera to my dad and grabbed the second pole. A double hookup was on.
There he goes. Rio.
Now this was awesome. I couldn't believe it. We were hooked up with 2 huge blue marlin. This was a dream come true. Randy's fish turned and started swimming towards the boat, which was a good thing, because as his fish was doing that, my fish headed out to sea, keeping the lines from crossing. As the fight continued, musical fighting chairs began. Quickly, Randy's marlin was alongside the boat, but my fish had other plans.
See him go?
It was out of here and was intent on taking all my line with it.
Oh, I'm running out of line.
Carlos saw what was happening and quickly turned the boat towards the fish.
I'm getting line back, yeah.
As I continued to fight the fish, Carlos came down to make sure that I knew his good luck pole rub earlier in the day worked. I couldn't agree more. Now an hour had passed. Randy had landed his marlin relatively fast, but I still had a long ways to go, and I was feeling it.
Your best marlin face.
It's heavy.
This is what I call a standoff, and I was wondering if I had met my match.
If he's still good, I'm gonna let him go. If he's still okay.
Yeah. Can you go?
Yeah, if he's okay. If he's not, if he's gonna die, we'll keep him.
Yeah,
Feels bigger.
Yeah.
Feels bigger than the one I got before last time.
See?
Yeah, it feels bigger. It's gone again. I know. Maybe I'll miss my plane.
Another hour later, and the marlin wasn't giving up, and went for another big run. I couldn't believe it. Finally, I was gaining some ground, so I thought.
Stop.
It's like a year.
I want to go home.
Now here's where it gets interesting. I started pulling on the fish and the pole breaks. Okay, I'm done talking. You've just got to see this to believe it. Okay, I lied. I just gotta say this. If I wasn't tired before, I sure the heck am now. Carlos had turned the pole over so the line wouldn't get cut by the sharp fiberglass tip. So I was reeling lefty backwards. Enough said. This fish just would not quit. All we wanted at this point was to grab the leader and call it a catch, but this was not going to be that easy. This was like some scene out of Jaws.
No! ¿Cómo se va para allá el mar y para atrás?
Finally, the marlin came around for its last time. Carlos grabbed the leader and called it a catch. And with a few swipes of its tail, it ran again, breaking the leader and swimming off into the deep.
That's okay. That's okay. Se le fue el chivato, pero ni modo. Pinche línea, güey.
Here's my trophy.
Se metió debajo, güey, ahorita que le hubiera dado la lancha.
Souvenirs and pictures.
Our crew, Carlos and Leo, estimated the marlin to weigh 350 to 400 pounds, and Randy's marlin estimated 220 to 230 pounds. The whole fight took 2.5 hours.
2.5?
What a great experience, especially with your dad there to witness it. That was the best.
Woo! Can you give me a water?
Well, I hope you enjoyed the show, and now I'm going to leave you with some yellowfin tuna being caught put to music. And oh yeah, good luck on your next fishing trip.